Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody. It is Monday, about 6 o'clock, real close. Just wanted to say hello and get on with something that came up today, which really I think is kind of fascinating. And it comes from Taif Sami. She's the finance minister of Iraq, and when she talks, I like to pay attention because she's basically part of an architect, part of one of the people that is an architect of this whole plan, this tripartite budget that we're seeing. She's been instrumental in a lot of things. Al-Sudani has been instrumental in a lot of things, and the Ministerial Council of Economics is all a part of this. So we talked about some things that happened in my last video that talked about the IMF Executive Board concludes the 2022 Article 4 consultation with Iraq. Interesting thing is that was done in February of 2023. Okay, so what we're still, like I said yesterday, is that we're expecting them to have Article 4 consultations, which they haven't mentioned for this year. And so we did see, I think it was the Ukraine, Philippines, and a couple other countries that showed that they've had their Article 4 consultations already done and published as we saw on the 15th. Okay, this is really fascinating. Before I get to the just a brief video tonight, you guys. We don't have a whole lot. It's just going to be a short, sweet. But interestingly enough, the International Monetary Fund has a paper called from the IMF, right? The Republic of Iraq, and it says it's a technical assistance report on government finance, statistics mission, and it says from December 5th through the 19th of 2021. And it goes on to say that this report on the Republic of Iraq was prepared by a staff of the International Monetary Fund. It is based on the information available at the time it was completed in November of 2022. Keep these dates in mind, okay? It was published February 2023. And that's where that Article 4 consultation article is that we just talked about February 3rd. And what else did they talk about? They talked about the Ministerial Council of Economics. When did they show up? They showed up in November of 2022. So the Article 4 consultation has a reference from Al-Sudani taken over in his office as October 2022. So these dates around the Executive Board assessment in Article 4 consultation of 2022 seem to mirror this, but this article here is fascinating. So if you want to Google it and research it, find it, read it, check it out, you're going to find some interesting things that have already been done. So this assessment, even though they started the process in December of 2021, they finished it and reported it a year later in November of 2022, but they didn't print this paper until February of 2023, at the same time as the Article 4 consultation. Why is that important? Well, the fascinating thing is it's because it's like they were ready to go in 2021 or at some point from then on, and it didn't happen. But then they got to the point where they felt it necessary to talk about it again. And this is an assessment paper. It's an assistance report on what? The finance statistics mission. And so the IMF felt it necessary to hold up. Okay, so they tell you about this, that they finished it in February of 2023, that they finished and completed this whole assessment in November of 2022. Not to be redundant, it's just that it's fascinating. Why would they wait? Why have they waited? Well, they have a bunch of stuff that's involved. And who's involved in this? Well, it says a summary of mission of outcomes and priority recommendations. This has 29 items. I'm not even going to go through the 29 items. If you guys go and research it and find it necessary to do so, have at it, okay? But the bottom line is, the first one, item 1, says, in response to requests from the Ministry of Finance. Who is that? Taif Sami. Okay, she's in office at the moment. A government finance statistics GFS, or the technical assistance, TA, and training mission took place remotely during December 5th, 16th, 2021, with the primary objective to support the authorities in the implementation of the National Budget Reform Project. They're talking about Iraq's national reform budget. And remember, they didn't have a budget in 2022. And last night we talked about the real effective exchange rate was not itemized in that Article 4 consultation. It was not itemized. It's just NA for 22, 23, 24, and 25. Why? Because they've been working on this project. Okay, and then item number 2 says the mission would like to express appreciation to the staff of the budget, public accounting, and debt departments for the open discussion and for sharing the knowledge. It's especially grateful for Ms. Taif Sami, the Deputy Prime Minister of Finance at the time and head of the Budget Directorate, for chairing the meetings, and Ms. Tifa Fillet for her support throughout the mission, and so on. Okay, that is, to me, is fascinating. So some of the things that were really interesting, and I'll just briefly talk about, is that there's a technical side in this report. It talks about things that were to be done, things that were done, and or ongoing, etc. But in this particular document, it basically shows that even back then, many of these items were high on the list of priority. There was some medium, medium, and then there was some low priority. Okay. They go on to just show that certain things happened that were high priority were done in April of 2022, high priority June 2022, high priority June 22. A medium thing was to be determined, and we have one thing in progress, another thing in progress. But the point to be said is that October 22 done, December 2022 done, all of these things. One thing here only was a low priority, was to be done and was done, was in June 2023. So this whole paper is basically showing that these guys did all of this work prior to June 2023, all of it, most of it's been done. Here we are in December of 2023, okay? And so there's no coincidences that the IMF and the others, the Central Bank of Iraq, and everybody has been working in conjunction to do what? To get Iraq into the international scene again. And then here we have Taif Sami. Now she is the Ministry of Finance. She's not a deputy. She's moved up in the world. So again, back in 2021, she was instrumental in working on this as an architect, and she still is. This article here today, okay, it says the Iraqi Minister of Finance, it says economic recovery is underway amid the return of commercial financing to normal. Well, I'll move on. I'm just going to read some of this to you guys, and then we'll look at it real fast, okay? Ministry of Finance, Taif Sami Mohammed, said on Monday that the economic recovery is underway in the country and amid the return of commercial financing to normal. Well, being at a commercial rate of 1310 is not normal, okay? Doing transfers, electronic transfers of funds for trade and finance, it's not normal for them to do that, because effectively 1310 is a rate that is not on the Forex. It's they're not trading at cross borders at 1310, but they've done currency swaps and got correspondent banks. So the list of all those things that have been completed, having to deal with all the things that we've talked about, are involved. Okay, so when they say that they can do cross borders, the ICE CUDA system, you're going to find in this article that they have some really powerful data, okay, that supports what I said yesterday. It's actually an add-on. It says that the getting back to the commercial financing to normal, it says this came during his participation along with the delegation of advanced staff in the Ministry of Finance and a number of representatives in the ministries in the Central Bank of Iraq in the meetings of the International Monetary Fund expert visiting mission held in the Kingdom of Jordan for the period from 14th through the 17th of December 2023. So this is just a fresh, recent within the last couple of weeks. They discussed priorities for correcting public finances through structural reforms represented by encouraging foreign trade payments to commercial banks and reducing reliance on cash. So we all know they're going to go to a less cash situation. It goes on to say, in addition to expanding the use of point-of-sale devices and electronic payments, we all know that that's been happening for quite a long time. They've got to advanced stages, and it also says here, it says, and they are accelerating the completion of the restructuring of the government banks. We talked about that last night. I showed you the history from 2010, restructuring Raffidain Bank, Rashid Bank, and fast forward into the consultation for Article 4 from the IMF, restructuring those banks. Who was involved? Ernst & Young. Got to that. Not going to have to keep going over it. Bottom line is, what are they saying? Accelerating the completion of restructuring of the government banks. Why? It's going to be necessary for what? Commercial financing back to normal. Who are the commercial banks? Iraqi Trade Bank, Raffidain Bank, Rashid Bank. They're going to do what? Do international trade, but yet they're going to be structured to a point where they become private. And what's that going to do? We'll get into it in a second. It goes on and says, the meeting discussed the actual expenses and revenues up until September of 2023, so that's really fresh. The expected ones to the end of this year, and spending ceilings for the year 2024, in addition to the appointments filed and contained in Budget Law number 13 of 2023, financial reforms, bank structuring, customs, tax automation, the unified treasury account, and the comprehensive banking system. If you have been studying this, you realize that all of that stuff has been worked on and it likely is completed, and that's part of the process. Unified treasury account, done. Customs, taxes, and automation, done. Bank restructuring, looks like trade bank's been done. One of the Raffidain and Rashid, likely at that stage of acceleration stage. What's that mean? Could it be any day? Sure. I don't know. But we're going to see that they know that they've had they do now have a comprehensive banking system. We saw the US Fed, the UST, platforms, all of these things. The parallel market ceasing. Once we see that, you're going to go, wow, it's going to be nuts. Implementing the POS electronic payment system for the purpose of maximizing revenues, which we know that that's probably been supportive because it's going to maximize revenues. Why? Because it's going to be transparent and accurate. Support for the funds with allocations were made in the general budget, also discussed in addition to structural reforms to support the private sector development. Well, that's what we're working on. Private sector, here we go. Increased job opportunities, right? Reforms for the retirement system. We've seen that even in place. The social protection, done. Higher revenues than exports. Well, of course, you just saw an article the other day, 350 million tons of sulfur. That's just one item. Think about it, man. The exports are going to be phenomenal. Higher economic growth based off what? Exports. Banking, electricity sector reforms. We know that all the support they've been getting from the different countries. Siemens, Total, everybody's been talking about getting 24/7 electricity. So that's all happening. It says the meeting also touched on the role of the Central Bank of Iraq tightening monetary policy appropriately with the aim of alleviating inflationary pressures by continuing to enhance liquidity management. Okay, so inflationary by continuing to enhance liquidity. So what did they do? They populated all those banks with cash, if you will, of different types of currencies, etc., to enhance liquidity, because they're going to manage the liquidity in and out of the country with trade, and that's what central banks do. And Ministry of Finance, she obviously knows these things. The Iraqi Ministry of Finance stated that the central bank has made good progress in implementing technical assistance recommendations for managing local liquidity. That means their currency, and bridging the time gap between auctions of bank instruments to ensure continuity of liquidity absorption. So they're going to defend their currency. When the time is right, they're going to do this. They're going to make an adjustment, which their expectation is completely 100%, in my view, high as it can be. and they need to have the support. And it sounds like Taif Sami said she was going to work till the end of the year, if you remember, and work overtime to make sure everything's sorted. This article almost sounds like she's got everything sorted to the point where it's going into another level. So we're at that stage. The last paragraph here says, Minister Taif Sami says that during the meeting, the economic recovery is underway amid the return of commercial financing to its normal, and that the large financial expansion, I'm going to think about what is large financial expansion. Could that very well mean that they're changing from an international into a new real effective exchange rate? We're going to find out. Maintaining economic stability and the importance of coordination between monetary and financial policy. Okay, those two work in conjunction. Ensuring the sustainability of the need to gradually renew financial policy. We're going to have a new financial policy, probably because the exchange rate should be different. And while maintaining spending on the necessary infrastructure, which we all know is the investment side of the budget, and the social spending needs, and controlling wage bill. We know that the public sector is filthy with too many people on the dole with jobs in the government sector. So when the private sector rolls in, those wages, that wage bill is going to decrease, right? And this is one of the things I said in my video last, and maybe the one before, I've been focusing on. They're trying to get rid of, or not just be reliant on the oil, 95%. Well, we did see 6 months ago or 4 months ago, an article said that they would be about 50% oil. But what else do they need? Those taxes and tariffs at the borders. Here it says wage bill will decrease, but yet they will have increased non-oil tax revenues. That's what Taif Sami had to say today. So basically, if you think about it, those two items in the bottom there are really focusing in on what they're going to do. I did a write-up on this in our Patreon room, and you can probably find it in the Discord, which was my analysis on that. I don't have the time for tonight to go into it in depth, but I would highly recommend, if you want to see that, come into Patreon, take a look at it. It's posted, and my thoughts and the crew's thoughts and ideas. So listen, thank you very much for being with me tonight. It is gearing up for, what did they say? They were going to start spending sometime in the next few days for the 2023 budget. So we got our eyes out for that. What they said two different things, up to 5 days. Then they said they would be spending from now until the potentially through the end of the month. Those are what they say. But hey, we have some fascinating information, and thank you very much for being with me. For all you new folks, if you like my site, hit that like button and subscribe. And if you'd like to help this content keep flowing, we have the PayPal, we have the Zelle, and the Venmo items for you guys to help out, keep this continuity going. Thank you so much. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content, subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.